Hello and happy new year. I hope your year ahead is filled with peace, abundance, and happiness. So, this year I wanted to try something a little different. Usually with human design, we can't really specify specific types, you could say. So, for instance, what I'm talking about is in astrology, we can say we're going to do year ahead for Pisces, or we're going to do year ahead for Aries, or something like that. But usually with human design, it's difficult. Last year, I did do something just for particular types. But again, we're looking at only four different types, or five if you want to separate the generator types into manifesting generators and generators, which I usually do. So this year, I'm going to talk about the 12 profiles. You can look at this as being an overview of your profile. And why I feel this is important is because as we move to 2027, the more tools we have in our tool belt to assist us in the journey, the better. By understanding your profile and how it operates and how you operate, it's just a small piece of you, but it can really help you in the world because there are energies for discovery, for being called out. There are energies for having the right people around you, being in the right projection field. They're all based on your profile. And if you understand how you operate, what you potentially need, then you are going to be more resilient, more empowered, and be able to navigate whatever changes we have going forward into 2025. Because 2025 is going to be a busy year, especially for the first half of the year. It's going to be potentially a very busy year, potentially chaotic. Um, but within the Gate 36, which will be featured quite a bit, you can have a look at my overview for the year. But within that chaos, or that energy is really telling us what you need to learn, what experiences do you need in your life to advance you forward towards the goals that are part of your trajectory. And so feeling empowered in who you are, feeling empowered with how you operate in the world can give you that step up that can help you to move forward through 2025, and I would say 2025 and beyond. This is why I wanted to make these videos, so hopefully it can help you on your journey forward. Now, what I'm going to do is sort of look at the perspective of the line and where it is in your body graph. This is going to be where we call your personality and also your design. But for simplicity, your personality is going to be considered like your mind, what you're conscious of, what you know. A lot of people call it the conscious. And the design, this is your body and how it expresses in the world. And so we could say that your body is the manifestation of you in the world, and your personality is the mind that is sort of trying to talk to the body. And this is why we talk about authority being so important, because what it actually does for us is it gives our body the ability to make the decisions, because our bodies are manifest, just like the manifest world. And that is the theory. So all the things that I'm going to talk about, if you use your authority and whatever that is for you, then that will be helpful for you moving forward. So I will separate the profile lines, or your profile lines, into your conscious or unconscious, or your personality or your body, which is what I prefer to talk about, because I think that we call the unconscious, the body unconscious, but on the other hand, there are a lot of ways we can get in touch with that other part of us. And it takes more time and effort, and everybody's going to be different in how they discover what their body is telling them. But I think that there are so many subtle cues that we have every day that our body's telling us about certain things. It pulls us towards things. It gives us gut reactions to things that we like or we don't like. It gives us the butterflies. It can tell you when you're starting to feel like maybe you're getting a cold or something. A lot of times we ignore that. It can tell you when you're eating things that it doesn't like. And so if there's anything that we can really connect with in 2025, it is our body. And so that's why I want to use that for each of these particular profiles. So we'll go through each profile and I will talk about sort of the lines and the ways you can use your profile as a guide. But now keep in mind, we could say that there are only 12 profiles, just like there's only 12 astrology signs. So there's a lot more beneath the surface, you could say. The profile is just one part of your body graph. So there's going to be a lot more. So I could talk about a fourth line energy, and you could say, well, I don't really feel that. Well, that's potentially because maybe the fourth line is on your design side. Or potentially maybe you have a lot of third lines in your body graph other than your profile. So there's a lot of ways that it can shift up, and really discovering what your body graph says is more important than anything. But ultimately, it's just a guide to help you discover your gifts and to decide to use them or not. And that's ultimately what it's about. It's not a guide for you to live a certain way or do a certain thing or to conform to a certain way of being. That is never what we want to do. So with that said, let's get into your profile. So if you have a 6-2 profile, we're talking about a 6-line mind, which means a very mutative mind, and a second line body. Now, we talked about the second line body with the 5-2, and if you want to look at that video, it might be helpful just in case I missed something that I talked about before. But ultimately, this is about an energy where your body needs to be away from people, because if you are always with people, it can be depleting. And so this is about being called out for things that are important, but then having that space of being alone and being away from people. It is different from a second line personality or second line mind, because that is where you can kind of mentally check out and be away from people mentally, but you actually can be in a physical place where there are a bunch of people around. It's much different with a second line body where the actual physical connection or break, getting out of other people's auras, can be very, very instrumental to finding the balance between having energy and being depleted, because it's very easy to completely get depleted when you have a second line body and you're not taking that time to hermit away. It's also important because when you're hermiting away, that is when you get the calls that are part of your life trajectory. And we also look at the 6th line as your mind, and this is what we call a very mutative mind, because your mind is mutating and it is connected to your personality, sun and earth. And so sometimes it can be overwhelming to go through that 3rd line energy and to have all this experimentation not work out the way you wanted them to work out, and feel like you made a lot of mistakes. And instead of moving from the pessimism of the 3rd line, which is natural, to the optimism of the 6th line, it's easy sometimes on your roof stage, the middle stage of your process, the middle stage of your process, to stay in that sense of pessimism and not really look to the optimism, because the 6-2 profile does not have a 3rd line after your Saturn returns. So of all profiles, continuing on with this pessimistic energy, like if you have a 3rd line in your profile, for instance, you're a 6-3 or you're a 3-6, then you always will have that sense of pessimism. And the pessimism is important because it is only by seeing beyond the illusion and calling out the mistakes that are there that we can get things better and we can evolve and change and do the things we need to do. But that's not the case for 6-2. So this is about releasing the pessimism and moving into optimism, seeing what you learned and moving into the next phase of your life and the roof, and then moving eventually on to your Chiron return and being a role model. And it is a sense of going into a stage of being instead of doing. That is something to really work on as you move forward. And again, it's really basically where you are in your process, because if you're in your first stage, you're still in this experimental process where you're collecting all the data that you need. And then when you get to your roof stage, you're taking all that information, all the things, experiences, the discoveries that you had, making sense of them, making peace with them, healing through them, discovering what you need to know from them, and moving into your Chiron stage, which is embodying just being yourself and walking your path, and expressing the energy of who you are based on just this sense of wanting to be yourself, the authenticity. So for the 6-2, again, for 2025, it's about finding balance, waiting for the call that is important for you. And as with all second lines, the call is not something that you have to take every one. Your body, especially, will tell you if it's right for you, because you have a design second line, and it's your body that will speak to you. And more than anybody with a second line body, which would be 5-2 and also a 6-2, getting in connection with that body consciousness, especially in 2025, because with Neptune moving into gate 25, it will be opposing gate 46, which is the love of the body. It is a time to really connect with that energy of what your body's saying, your body language, and everybody has their own. And when you start to really connect with that, it's interesting how much information you can glean from what your body's trying to tell you. With that said, I'm wishing you the best in 2025 and that your year will be filled with success, abundance, and good health. Until next time, take care and bye for now.